Have to hear what Bayley just said about Liv Morgan. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what she had to say and why it is so important. Because Bayley, Liv Morgan, they have had two of the best career years in recent memory across the WWE main roster, NXT, whether you're a male or you're a female. Bayley, been at the forefront. Liv Morgan, breakout year. Bayley is someone that fans have wanted to see succeed on a high level as a babyface literally for a decade. And fans of Liv Morgan have been waiting her entire WWE career to see a match and a year in which Liv Morgan has been put the spotlight on, and showcased as the top performer that they knew that she could be. And that's exactly what they've been able to do. Bayley, on the other hand, winning the Women's Royal Rumble match, earning the right to have a match of her choosing, whether it be the women's title or the women's world title at WrestleMania 40, ultimately opting to go after Io Sky's women's championship, breaking up a faction in which she started to begin with, and dethroning Io Sky for the women's title at WrestleMania 40, having a pretty good reign as women's champion before ultimately losing it to Nia Jax at SummerSlam. Now they're about to run it back. Bad blood, Nia Jax, Bayley, women's title. On the flip side, Liv Morgan, well, she's also had a breakout year. Arguably had a better year than Bayley, and arguably had one of the greatest years in recent memory across the board. Think about it. She's returned from injury at the Royal Rumble, declared the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour, going on a revenge tour, feuding with Becky Lynch, injuring Rhea Ripley, feuding yet again with Becky Lynch, winning the women's world title from Becky Lynch, won at the King and Queen of the Ring PLE, before beating Becky Lynch 2 nights later in a steel cage match on Monday Night Raw. We have not seen Becky Lynch since then. Then getting Dirty Dom to align with her and going into a feud with Rhea Ripley. Liv Morgan, she's been featured across multiple segments on Monday Night Raw each and every week, from opening to closing segments to multiple segments throughout. Getting in the way of what the Judgment Day was all about, breaking them up and splitting them up, with them having a completely new faction. And now we're about to see Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley run it back. So what did Bayley have to say about Liv Morgan? Well, Bayley, she recently took to social media to respond to a viral clip of Morgan talking to Peter Rosenberg of Cheap Heat for a new interview. And in this clip, Morgan talked about how she can always go to Bayley for advice, to ask her how things went in her matches and or segments. Bayley, she saw this clip, she praised Morgan's growth and talked about how she's protected her since being by her side since day one. She also noted that she's very proud of Morgan, and this is exactly what she had to say. Just to be clear, it's not that I see her as a baby still. She's clearly grown. I'm just a little protective of her since I've seen her journey from day one and literally used to go give her rides to shows. I'm beyond proud of you. I've always loved your dedication. Plus, you make me laugh. Bye. Okay, so this is actually a very, very cool little story, a little tidbit, and that's why I wanted to share it with you guys, because Bayley is someone that is well respected within the industry, and Liv Morgan is someone in which they want to see succeed, and they've started to see her succeed, and that is why her rise in WWE has been so much fun to watch. Bayley mentioning that she used to take her to shows, driving her to WWE shows and making all the towns, because think about it, Liv Morgan, she's one of the youngest on the WWE roster. Not as much as she once was, but at a certain point, yeah, she was pretty young. And going down to the NXT days, you got to be a certain age to get rental cars and hotels and stuff. And Bayley was someone that was throwing her arm around Morgan and saying, you know what, I got you. Everything's going to be okay. And showing her how this business works. That's very, very cool. Bayley, for a lot of people, has been a role model, to the point where a few years ago, especially when she was a heel, that's something that she tapped into. She saw potential in that moniker, that identity, and ran with it as a heel, getting heat from fans in attendance and on television, right? It's perfect because it's so easy. If you look at what Bayley has been able to do this year and really over the last 2 years, it's what she's done with Liv Morgan in the past. She's been able to continuously help others, right? She formed the Damage Control faction because she felt like, okay, I'm a big enough name where I can have my own faction. It gets me over even more, but I can also pull talent up with me. showcasing their skills, giving them a shot in front of the eyes of management and seeing where we can take it. Think of Io Sky. That helped her tremendously. She was on her way out of WWE when Damage Control was formed in SummerSlam 2022. You think of Dakota Kai. She had been fired from this company. Kairi Sane was not even in this company when Damage Control formed. They recruited her back from Japan. You think about that. You think about Asuka, someone who has arguably one of the best resumes in the history of the business, whether it's in WWE or in Japan. She was kind of floundering at a time which Damage Control recruited her before she ultimately went down with an injury. That's what Bayley was able to do. And that's why Bayley is so important to not only WWE, its women's division, but just the history of the business, because she's changed so many lives. You could make the case that Mercedes Moné, aka Sasha Banks, she wouldn't be the same without Bayley. Think about it. They both formed the women's tag team titles. They were the inaugural champions, and they ran it back twice as champions. If you look at what she was able to do in NXT, she was a key pillar of the NXT roster that helped put the original NXT Black and Gold brand on the map, making it the destination of WWE programming for multiple years at a time which WWE programming absolutely sucked. NXT, that was a spotlight. That was the golden light of what WWE represented for so many years, because Vince McMahon couldn't get out of his own way and book proper storylines. That's what Bayley was a part of. When she was called up to the main roster, she also was a part of the women's revolution, the evolution, and now the golden era of pro wrestling. A golden era of women's wrestling in which Liv Morgan has been able to capitalize off of, and being able to use her star power to elevate herself even more, putting herself in a notable feud with Rhea Ripley. That is what she's been able to do, and that's why it's so important for Liv and Bayley to still be around in WWE. Not only adding star power to the programming, to the women's divisions across both Raw and SmackDown, but just the company as a whole. That's why it's so important that these two continuously stick around. Liv Morgan, she obviously has a longer runway than Bayley does, just because of age. But Bayley is someone that I think is going to be sticking around WWE for multiple years, whether it's in front of the camera or behind it, working with younger talent, giving her expertise, her advice, what she's been able to see, and Liv Morgan going to be a future main eventer for WWE for many, many years. That is something in which I look forward to, and I absolutely can't wait to see what WWE does next with Liv Morgan and where the future holds for Bayley.